Hello and welcome to the Education on Fire podcast. The place where we share creative and inspiring learning in our schools. Season 2, Episode 19. Hello and welcome back to the Education on Fire podcast with me, Mark Taylor. This week it's all about computing and EdTech, and it was taken live from the Nape Education Conference back in 2016 in Oxford. And I took the opportunity to go down and do some interviews with some of the keynote speakers and some of the people who were there as part of the trade exhibition. So you're going to hear some interviews with Stuart Swan, who's the vice chair of Nape, as well as being there doing a keynote as part of the Lego Education products that he's involved in. I'll also be chatting to Stella James, who's the founder of Gooseberry Planet. Miles Berry was also there, and I also had a chance to chat with Tim Rylands as well. And as well as that, also be chatting to Katie from Too Simple Software, who you may well know is part of Purple Mash, and her organisation created that fantastic product that's around in many, many schools. So this week, you'll have the opportunity to listen to some of those interviews and hopefully get a real sort of insight into what they have to offer and then how they can help you in your school. And then on Friday, I did a more in-depth interview with Stella James talking about online safety, and that was a really interesting one about how to really help your school and parents and pupils and have a real sort of overall understanding of how we can really support people online and be safe. So I hope you enjoy the week, and this will start with Stella James and Tim. So welcome back. Here we are at the Nape conference. I'm delighted to be joined by Stella James.
Hello.
So tell me, while you're here as a keynote speaker and you've also got a stall here for Gooseberry Planet, can you tell me a little bit, first of all, about what you're going to be speaking about during the conference?
I'm going to be covering online safeguarding in schools, basically, which is becoming a bigger and bigger challenge. And I think more and more schools are trying to find ways of dealing with the matter because more and more incidents is appearing. And
what do you find is the key barrier to that? Is it a lack of knowledge by schools? Is it a lack of knowledge by teachers, or?
Oh, do you know what? I think it's a combination of things. One is definitely lack of knowledge by teachers, because at the end of the day, the internet, is phenomenal. It's an amazing tool, but it's growing at such a rate that Google only give you 4% of what's actually on the internet. So it's huge. So how's a teacher meant to keep up to date? It's a virtual impossibility,
So do you believe that it's going to be people outside of school that are going to be basically safeguarding our children in the internet and those sorts of things? Is it going to be professional people that are going to be supporting schools much more rather than schools themselves just being completely in control of this type of thing?
Well, actually, it's up to the school to stay in control. And the new legislation that came out in September was keeping children safe in education. It is down to the school to implement certain things to adhere to that legislation. So, yes, there are professional bodies. There's companies like us that, are helping teachers be educated on what's going on and what children are doing. But it is everybody's responsibility. It's not just the schools, it's the parents as well.
Right. And that's part of the reason why I decided that Education on Fire was going to be a good starting point, as EdTech is obviously, here we are in our season 2 now. But it's just a place that we can go which you feel that you're confident with, in a community of people that have got experience with some of these technologies, and so that they're actually able to really feel like they've got some support there and they get some understanding and some knowledge from people that are already involved in these types of things. So can you tell us a little bit about Gooseberry Planet and how that came about?
Oh gosh, I'm a mum ultimately, foremost, and back in September 2013 my son, then 11, had his first mobile phone. So he was going to secondary school. So I went online to try and find something that I thought realistically an 11-year-old would do. And he's a little bit of a cool dude, pretty much takes no notice of me whatsoever. And I went online and I couldn't find anything at all that I thought he would do. So that's when I came up with the idea of Gooseberry Planet. So the children play a game. It's all through scenario-based learning, and they go through potentially live scenarios that could happen online. Then there is a platform for the teachers where there is a monitoring system, an assessment tool, a resource area. And then the final jigsaw puzzle is the parents. So we have an app for the parents so they can see how their child is being taught at school and what they're being taught at school. And there's some really cool notifications that we send out to the parents.
That's great, and what I love about that is it's the whole community feel that the parents are involved, the children are involved, the school are involved. I'm a parent myself, and we had an incident where something was sent to him, and he wasn't quite sure what to do. And he was obviously slightly concerned, but he did come to us and say, "Look, I've just received this," and it was just someone playing a prank and all that sort of thing. But it obviously really upset him, and he knew the first point of call was to mention it to someone, which was great.
Yeah.
And we went to the school, and the school did deal with it in a very efficient manner, should I say. But it did become a little bit of a bigger deal. And actually, I think more of it was just the fact that it wasn't very cohesive after that point of view. It wasn't the fact that we could actually just say, it's okay, this is what it is, and make it part of our living life. It's not just an incident, it's actually part of where we are.
Online and being on the internet is part of our lives. And the biggest thing, and the research is saying, is the more open we are with children, the better it is to open a conversation. And the more we shut them down and stop them from doing it, the more danger we put them under. And you are absolutely right. We need to just keep talking. We need to just going over scenarios in exactly the same way as we'd cross the road. We teach our 4 and 5 year olds all the time, look left, look right, cross the road, hold the hand. And it's the internet is no different. It's just a different way of parenting. And the danger is what you can't see, not necessarily what you can see.
Yes, absolutely. And the internet is almost like the modern Green Cross Code, isn't it?
Totally. Absolutely.
That's where we are, and that's what we're dealing with. So, what do we do about that? And like I say, all these products and all the people out there are trying to support everybody in school and parents to actually really just make sure they feel safe, because you can't control children when they're crossing the road. All you can do is give them the skills they need to do the best that they can. And I think that's really where we are with the internet and what we're able to do with the education and tech and how that's all involved.
And I've become more and more passionate about it. And the more I go into Gooseby Planet and the more I go into schools, we do parent workshops, and I was at one last night, and a policeman came up to me and went, "Do you know what? That was brilliant, because we're actually giving parents the tools in order to protect themselves. And if they are going to post and they are going to use social media, we all do it. We're all doing it in some way, shape or form. So if we're going to do it, let's just protect ourselves while we're doing it."
Absolutely. And the tools are the key thing. And for all of those listening, we're going to have a longer interview with Stella to really go into how Gooseby Planet works, and I'd like to even speak to some people who've got them in schools and see how they really get to do it, chat to some parents and some children as well, because as we said, the community is the big thing and how it relates to all of these people. So what's the most important thing, apart from, like saying, being open and talking about these things, that you think we can really take away from having these an app, as it were, actually making it part of real life? You said there's a scenario involved as well. Sort of how realistic are they? And
they play as a little character called Taff, because children love playing games and they compete against each other and they collect stars, find family members, all those type of things. But because it's in a third party, they tend to respond in a more natural way. Okay, but what it does is preempt what potentially could happen online. So there's the education process, and the nice thing is it's repetitive. There's big studies coming out about gamification and how SAP are using it, B&Q are using it, because they're finding people are learning and it's changing behaviours, which is what we need to do. And the statistics are, by time a child is 5 years old, there will be 1,000 images of that child online. Who's posting that? So it's a real education process of teaching parents how to change privacies, and teachers as well, about what they're posting, how they're posting. And we're going to do it, but again, it's about being a bit savvy about it.
Yes, and I think that's something that we don't often think about, is the fact we think it's someone coming to us that's going to give us something, or we'll end up in a website we don't want to go to. But the majority of these problems are probably the fact that, like you say, it's an image being posted by a friend of a friend or a family member and that sort of thing. And if you don't know how to change your Facebook settings, or you don't want it to go on Twitter, then how do you go about that, and where do you start? So, and that's the reason we're going to have lots of resources and lots of backup material on the website, on educationonfire.com, and lots of stuff on Gooseby Planet, and we'll continue talking again another time, where we can really delve into how the system works and how it can work for all the community, like we said, the schools, the parents and the children.
That'd be brilliant, and I look forward to that.
Brilliant. Thanks very much for talking
to us.
All right,
thank you.
I'm delighted to be joined by Tim Rylands now. A great keynote speech. Can you tell us a little bit about what you covered and how technology really is affecting everyone in education now?
Well, my name is Tim Rylands, Rylands. And if you go to timrylands.com, should that be timrylands.com? Well, we don't have anything to sell, as it were, but we do have lots of links to useful, free, and interesting things for people to try. So timrylands.com. Oh, it's all gone quiet. Everybody's run off. Where'd they come? Oh, welcome back. Hello. So yes, my name is Tim Rylands.
So what are some of the free things you have on your site which you recommend, and why do they really work for schools and children?
Free things on this site, I can't remember. If people click on the useful and interesting links, then everything is there. They don't have to sit through all the events that we do, because we've got events and training from all around the world, like India, Vietnam, Qatar, Denmark, Poland, all over the place. But if they follow the useful and interesting links, it links off to things that they might want to try in their classroom with their children. Do you remember them?
Yeah.
Children. Yeah.
I think the children first thing is something which obviously is incredibly important. One thing I really picked up on from the keynote was that the getting out of the classroom, and I'd like you to explain a little bit about getting out of the classroom, not just in a physical sense, but in a kind of an emotional sense, which I think is what technology kind of frees everyone up to do a little bit. Can you explain a little bit about that?
Well, there are many different ways that technology can enhance the analog. So, for example, using things like ThingLink, where you can link off to an image or related aspect. It beats sitting down with a worksheet. But also, so many things. Like, for example, we mentioned Tag Galaxy this morning. taggalaxy.de, a German website, but don't panic, it's in English. Links to beautiful sites. It seems to be down at the moment, but that kind of aspect, I think, is where we shouldn't expect technology to be the answer. In other words, yes, using technology effectively, and again, if you have a look, there are lots and lots of useful links, but it has to go beyond that as well. We do have to get them outside, scratched by it, sniffing it, smelling it, knowing what to do, though, when they don't know what to do is powerful, whether it's analog or digital.
Absolutely. And I think getting the child to really be who they want to be, and of course that we all hope is an incredibly rounded person, which involves being outside, being active, being creative, being musical, or whatever it is that really gets them excited. And from there, then I think they'll progress into the kind of adult that they'd love to be. Sadly,
the world of, the press, whatever, is expecting people to become... we've just had a conversation about somebody saying that a certain group were expecting children not to use computers. Well, unfortunately, they are prominent, they are prevalent, and maybe Steam wasn't available at some point. Well, technology is now, and we need to teach our children to use it effectively and creatively, and be imaginative and get outside, get scratched by it and sniff it and smell it, and know what to do when they don't know what to do. So whether it's analog or digital, actually using things effectively is by any rationale, whatever it is, the main reason that we spend time with children.
Absolutely, and it's getting back to the fact that we're educating our children so that they can live their best lives. We're not just educating them for the sake of educating them, and I think that's probably the most important thing to remember.
Yeah.
Lovely. Thanks so much for talking to us today. And
by the way, technology, did you know that's actually a Latin word? Technology is the Latin for will not work. In fact, will not work in public, maybe. Well, will not work when you need to use it. Well, it might do. Be creative.
Thank you. That's brilliant.
Enjoy. Cheers.
Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to the Education on Fire podcast. For more information, please go to educationonfire.com.